Hello, and welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
That's good.
No, I stole it from somebody. I can't use it again.
I'm like desperate for an original introduction to our show.
Well, you can just take one like I did.
Yeah, just put a bunch together.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi.
See?
Yeah.
You took that from yourself last week. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Crimes Against Folk on this Sunday, October 4th. My name is Edward Williams.
My name's Ashley E. Norton.
And we are bringing this to you live from our locations in California and Arizona. And we're really fortunate to have this, things like Jamulus and OBS and Restream to make this happen. And, of course, we couldn't do this with the lovely support of our audience, including our patrons. Our producer patrons include Alice Williams. Thank you very much. We really appreciate your support. If you are not a patron yet, check out patreon.com/crimesagainstfolk to find out more.
Yeah.
And, yeah, how's it going, Ash?
It's going good. I'm tired. We found this really cool hike today in Ramona.
Yeah.
And you need a special permit to go on it, and it's only open for like 3 months out of the year, and only 2 days a week.
Oh, wow.
So it's like super special. So you have to like watch this short video and then answer a little questionnaire that's basically like, I will not go off the path. I will not, disturb any of the wildlife, blah, 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 because apparently it's a really sensitive habitat. And then when you show up there, and it's like 5 minutes from my house, but you show up there and there's a park ranger, and he like checks your permit and checks you in a 6-mile loop, and there's like nobody there, and it's absolutely beautiful. And you get to see like the best of Ramona on this hike.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so cool.
That is really cool.
I know. We're bummed it took us this long to find it.
I know, yeah. I know. It's like those kind of things aren't always typically advertised. They're just kind of around, and you have to you just have to kind of stumble on them, I guess.
Oh, totally. The only reason we know about it is because Brad rides his bike all over Ramona, and he saw like a little booth there, and he's like, "What is this?" And he went and asked. That's the only reason we know.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, Ramona's cool.
Yeah.
You'll get to visit us one day. You'll love it.
That's awesome.
How are you doing, Ed?
I'm doing okay. Just, hanging out here in Arizona still. And, not much going on here, at least for me anyway. So it's been kind of a quiet week getting things together. So,
yeah,
business as usual.
Yeah, cool. We have big news as far as Crimes Against Folk goes, don't we?
Oh, we do?
Yeah. Did you forget?
Maybe.
We launched our Patreon page.
Yes. We launched a Patreon, yes.
And we started our very first pre-show concert today.
Woohoo!
And we're going to do it every single Sunday before the show. And we're doing it before the show so our friends in overseas can watch too, because we know not all of you are in our time zone.
Yeah.
So we figured if we do it around 12:30ish p.m. Pacific every Sunday, we're going to play about half an hour, 20 to 30, and you can join that for only $5 a month. Not a week, $5 a month.
Yeah.
So, you'll get a little pre-show concert, because I know some of you guys are missing the music because we took a lot of the music out of our podcast so we can focus more on the speaking, I guess. And so we wanted to put it back in and really build our Patreon community, because especially as far as podcasts goes, they seem to have a really thriving community on Patreon. And if you're not familiar with Patreon yet, it is the #1 best way to support your artists, your podcasters, your anything creative. I mean, there's anything from cartoonists to authors to podcasters, musicians, everybody's on there. And it's kind of like a month. You just pledge a monthly amount. It can be anywhere from $1 to $50 for us. And there's other tiers for other people as well. And that way it's just like a monthly thing. And then that you don't have to think about it anymore, because a lot of you are really generous to us by tipping us or PayPal once a week. And we really, really appreciate that. If you prefer to just keep that format, of course, we're very happy to have your support however we can get it. Or if you can only afford the dollar option, we're happy to have you. And if you can only afford to listen for free, you know what? Thank you for being here. We don't want you to go away. Please stay with us no matter what. But we're just offering this as an extra. So hopefully we'll get you on the extra. We would love to have you there.
Yeah, for sure. So again, go ahead and check out patreon.com/crimesagainstfolk. And you can learn more there and sign up and see what all fun stuff you're going to get.
Yeah.
So this episode today kicks off our unofficial Far West month. For the month of October, we're going to try and focus on kind of highlighting our experiences with the wonderful conference that's typically held out in the West Coast around this time, but because of the pandemic, it was postponed. So we decided, hey, let's kind of reminisce and maybe invite people on that we've met before and kind of share some of the stories and experiences we've had there. So that's kind of what's happening this month.
Yeah.
And
it's Far West month.
It's Far West month.
Yay.
Since we can't have it for a weekend, we'll have it for a month.
Yeah. in our world anyway.
Yeah. And our guests for today are Peter Cutler and Deborah Hand-Cutler. Peter and Debbie are the hosts of the wonderful concert series at Fiddlers Crossing in Tehachapi, California.
It's amazing.
It's a wonderful, wonderful show. And we've, seen Peter and Debbie at Far West a bunch the couple of times we've been there. And so we wanted to kind of get them on and chat a little bit about it and their experiences and their stories running a concert show as well, concert series.
Yeah.
So
we absolutely love them. It's like when I see them at when we were able to attend Far West, it's like they just fill me with warmth. I remember we actually got to showcase at Far West this last time, which was an incredible experience, and we will be sharing one of those videos today in the show so you can watch it. But I just remember like the only, because you're looking out of the audience and there's what 300 people out there watching us at this showcase, and it's a big stage with full lights. So when that happens, we can't really see you guys. Like when the lights are on us, and you can see us so clearly, we can't see you as clearly. It's just like a dark room basically. But Peter and Debbie were in the front row, and I just remember we finished our set, and we did I think we did a wonderful show that night, Ed. Mm-hmm. And afterwards, I could see them, and I remember the two of them were the first ones, and they just like jumped on their feet, and they were like applauding us so hard. I felt so proud, like I just made like mom and dad, like the music mom and dad, really proud. House concert mom and dad, like, we did it.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. That was really nice.
Yeah.
That's it was a fun experience. We had a bunch of fun experiences like that at Far West, so we're hoping to kind of, share that and share other people's experiences with that as well throughout this month. We're still working on the last October, but for today, our guest is Peter Cutler and Debbie Hand-Cutler. Next week we'll be having Aunt Mama. She's an incredible storyteller, and we'll kind of talk to her about her storytelling and about the storytelling section of Far West, which it's a shame you aren't going to get to go to see it this time because it's amazing. I went to see it last year, and it was incredible. And then after that, we'll be having Petty Chavez, a wonderful duo we met there. And then again, we'll announce the last week when we get that sorted. So,
Wow.
so make
I'm
sure
excited.
you subscribe and or like or whatever you do on whatever podcast app you have because you don't want to miss these.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's kick it off with I guess our show and tell. I think it's my turn this week.
Yeah. So you're going to notice everything's Far West themed.
Yeah. Yep. And even this thing, I most of my things were videos. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of photos from Far West, but I have a few videos. And so I sent this video along, and so I'm gonna play this video for you. It's only about a couple minutes long, but this is kind of a little taste of Far West if you haven't been there or you haven't experienced it yet.
Push off that old feeling, oh no, I've tried oh so hard to forget, but try as I may to be happy, my days are so blue, filled with though some days are as storm clouds are gray in the sky. Remember Joe, who needed you so, but I didn't realize. Off that old feeling, oh no, I've tried oh so hard to forget, made to be happy, my days are so blue, some days are as storm clouds are gray in the sky. Remember Joe, who needed so, but I didn't realize.
All right. So that was the my little video of the Western Flyers. They were a Western swing group, I think from Texas. I think that's where they were from. I have to recall, but believe they were from Texas. And that was an example of one of the things you find at Far West, which are called the private guerrilla showcases. These are so if you're not familiar with Far West, if you've never been there, Far West takes place typically at a hotel. The past two times we've been to it, it was in Woodland Hills, California, which is a suburb, which is a outside of LA, and one of the things they'll do, aside from having regular concerts each night of the conference, they will allow people to basically rent out a hotel room on, I think it was the third floor, and put on showcases. So a lot of times concert hosts will do this in order to put on their own showcases and feature artists. We've done this a lot. Sometimes artists like the Western Flyers will rent out the room and put on their own showcase. And they basically use it as a way to kind of perform each night. In this case, they were showcasing. They had a main showcase, and so I think they just kind of wanted to get as much out of it as they could, call as much attention, like, hey, we're here, check us out, and also check us out on the main stage during our regular showcase. So I think that was one of the things that they really wanted to highlight. And so it was really cool. I mean, they were just so good. It was like I was kind of transfixed every time I walked by.
Yeah, you loved them.
Every time I walked by the room, I had to stop and walk in and listen.
I never heard them.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
This is the crazy thing about Far West, though. Like, Ed and I were at the conference together.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many people to meet, and there's so little time, and these guerrilla showcases are happening, till the wee hours of the night. But you can literally sit down in one room, and you'll be like, how did 3 hours just go by? And I've only been in like one or two hotel rooms tonight. It's just weird. It's a crazy experience. So I don't know. I just never made it over there. Not for lack of trying. It's just you try to go there, and then all of a sudden you get derailed and this way and that way.
Yeah, like typically that's how the later nights of the show goes. Like there are there are some things to do kind of during the day. Like there's a networking center which we usually participate in, which lets you kind of network with other people and other services and stuff like that. It's sort of the expo hall of the conference, if you want to look at it that way. And then there are concerts in the evening, kind of the big showcase stage concerts. And then late at night, these start at 10 p.m. Then you have the private guerrilla showcases, which last through, I think, 2 a.m.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the showcases do, and then there's a jam that lasts until like 4 a.m.
Yeah, that's right.
Non-stop this conference.
There's a jam after that, which lasts, and then they start up with panels and stuff in the morning. So
I remember it's folk music.
Yeah,
that's the funniest thing. It's like these folkies, and they're like partying till the wee hours of the morning, and then getting up and starting it all over again. Yeah. It's exhausting.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So, I wanted to kind of share this video because it showcases like what one of the main things that you will be doing if you go to this conference. It's one of the main things you'll be doing is either kind of going around to the different rooms and seeing what's happening, or you're hosting one of these rooms and you have artists come in, or you're playing one of these rooms and hoping to maybe make an impression and get booked on a house concert or something like that. That's one of the main purposes of the rooms it is sort of a built-in networking thing. And but it's also a great chance to just kind of discover a lot of new music, because there's so many groups that do these things. So
yeah, and it's the guerrilla showcases are arguably the most important part of the festival. The conference rather. So in some of the rooms, that room that you see there from Ed's video was like a little bit more bland, but in decoration wise. But some of the rooms they really get decked out, like Peter and Debbie's room, the Fiddlers Crossing room. They really put up lights and they put a big sheet up against the wall, so it really feels more like a because you're in a hotel room. It's just regular old hotel room, and then people pile on the beds, and sometimes people put in chairs, or sometimes you just stand around or sit in the bed. I mean, it's a really interesting thing. A couple of the rooms have worked it out with the hotel so they can like take out the beds, and they turn it in. They just put chairs in, like
Russ and Julie do
yeah,
that.
Russ and Julie do that. But so mostly you're just kind of crowding in, and you fit who you can fit. You can tell who the more popular quote unquote people are, because they usually fill out the rooms, or they're just people who've been doing it for a while,
Yeah.
and they get a little bit of a buzz. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's cool. And then often the people will like, I know the Access Film Music Room, they stock their rooms with Lagunitas beer because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
sponsored by Lagunitas. Sometimes the rooms will have wine, sometimes they'll have cookies. It really depends. And
It's kind of a little party in each room, a
Yeah.
little party and a little concert in each room. The sets are usually, 15 minutes long or something like that, 15,
Yeah.
20 minutes long, depending on the room. And then it's like quick fire. You do that, and then you pack up your stuff and you move to the next room 5 minutes later and do your another one. And maybe then you'll have another at 1 a.m. And so you have an hour to kind of just mill around and, and check out all the other rooms and connect with people and stuff. So it's a bit of you're kind of running on adrenaline at that point, but
yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And then, you go, I don't want to book a room at 1 a.m. And then you realize there's actually still plenty of people around to come and listen to you at that time. So
Yeah.
actually, you might be a little tired, but
yeah.
it's all part of the fun. It's all fun.
So that's one of my memories. This was from Far West last year, 2019. And so yeah, Western Flyers, check them out. They're great. They showcased last year, which was well deserved because they were a fantastic group.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
so now we'll move on to our little video,
Yay.
which is also from Far West.
Yay.
As Ash mentioned, we got to showcase at Far West 2019, and the story's a little funny. We
First runner up.
Yeah, we found out that they had picked their Far West board had picked their performer slate, and it turns out that one of the bands
We were not selected.
we were not selected.
But we
One
were
of the
selected as
bands-
an alternate.
Yeah,
But what we didn't know is we were selected as the first alternate.
Yeah, I guess there are pick maybe one or two alternates, and one of the bands notified them and said, "Hey, we can't make it." And so, guess who slid into that spot?
Ta-da!
So yeah, we were the first runner-up. I still need to make the trophy.
I know. I told this to Ed. I was like, well, we didn't. I was running around. I was like, do we tell people that we didn't actually get in? And he's like, this is even more impressive, Ashley. This is more impressive that we got the first alternate and then got to slide into the slot.
Yeah.
But it was still really cool. And I remember a couple of the people who on the board who really, really wanted us. And I guess the thing that really drove it home for them was our music videos. And I remember they came up to us and said, we're so happy you guys got a slot. I wanted Witherword so bad. I'm so happy you're here. So that felt kind of good.
Yeah, that was nice. So we decided to replay one of the videos made by one of the awesome videographers who was filming all of the Far West showcases. Mm-hmm. And so this is our performance of Sunshine and Rainbows at Far West 2019.
It's a great day for playing in the playground after school. The swing sets are swinging and the slide's pretty cool. But along in the distance, a boy sits really intent. He wonders what it feels like outside the chain link fence. A better world instead. I've got sunshine and rainbows in my head. It's a clockwork reaction whenever whenever things went wrong, I would shun the world around me and build one of my own. You may say that I'm a dreamer, and Lord knows you'd be right. Pretty dreams and perfect scenes instead of sleep at night. A place with no regrets. I've got sunshine and rainbows in my head. Well, I could have the money, I could have the fame, I could have a palace shaped after my name. I could find the one to catch me when I fall. I can see her smiling face, I can see it all. They're better off out there. I'll take sunshine and rainbows instead.
So that was our showcase performance at Far West 2019.
And that's a song you guys might be familiar with if you're familiar with Witherword music.
Yep.
Called Sunshine and Rainbows, and that Ed wrote. It's one of my favorite songs of his. And the thing that was really special about that performance, and I don't think they caught the introduction to the song in this video, but Ed gave, isn't October Mental Awareness Month?
I don't know.
Or something,
Maybe.
but I can't remember what, I don't know. You gave a really nice speech before the song about mental health, mental awareness, or whatever you want to call it, right before that song, and it was really nice.
Maybe it was Mental Health Awareness Week, which is going on right now, I guess. It probably was later last year, I'm guessing. So, or it might have been Mental Health Day.
Yeah.
One of those two things. But yeah, I'd mentioned it simply because, I was going through I've always gone through, mental health struggles. I only started working on the medication part of it in the past couple of years. And that song is a song about, my mental health struggles, that have existed since childhood. And so I wanted to let people know that's kind of the context for the song. Again, like we mentioned, I think last week or maybe the week before, people take a song and make it what they want, which is fine. I've never had a problem with that. But that, mental health and my experiences with it were what prompted me to write that song. And so that's my story for the song. It doesn't mean it's the story for the song. So you can take it and do with it what you will, but that was, that they didn't catch that, but that's kind of what I alluded to before, was that this is a song about mental health. So it's Mental Health Awareness Day or week or whatever it is. So let's play it. And, because why not?
It was a beautiful song, beautiful message.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's an example of kind of what you get when you go to the Far West Showcases. It's a big old stage, and I think the opening night they have they have what's I think the Venue's Choice concert.
Yeah. So they pick 4 or 5 venues every year, get to have their own slot and get to pick their favorite artist.
Yep.
To come and showcase at it. So.
That's pretty fun too. You should definitely check that out, because there are artists those artists very likely will be doing a private Gorilla Showcase, but sometimes not. So you want to make sure you see it.
That's how we got to hear Rose Valley Thorns up there.
Oh yeah, man, they're great.
That's actually side note, Ed. We should talk to them about being on our show.
No, we got them on the list.
Okay.
So
cool.
But they were great. Kind of gypsy style. Group out of California too, but that's that's the fun part, is you get to kind of see if they didn't get to if a group didn't get to a main showcase, or you may have missed them in the rooms. That's one of the places you can go see them too, hopefully.
Yeah.
So, and speaking of venues, let's introduce our guests today, Peter Cutler and Debbie Hand-Cutler. They've been running the Fiddlers Crossing concert series since 2010, and it's a wonderful concert series out of Tehachapi, California. It's so cool. Peter and Debbie built a great room, great sound. That's mostly thanks to Peter, who's been a broadcast engineer and recording engineer for the folk scene radio show for almost 50 years now. So we're going to give them a call right now.
Yay.
Let me switch over here.
Yeah, they have, I mentioned their room at Far West is really, really nice. So you can only imagine what their actual venue is like in Tehachapi, which is also really fun to say.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and we got lucky with it, because we booked a show with them, and I can't remember why, but I think there was a lot of rain or something, and Tehachapi is kind of like
it's in the mountains.
Yeah, it's in the mountains, like maybe 40 minutes up from Bakersfield or something. So we got canceled, and then they rescheduled us the following weekend. Luckily we were able to do it, and it was just a lovely show. We have video from that we'll share at some point on this podcast as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's give them a call. Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear myself?
I do.
Yeah.
All right. Can you hear Ashley?
Hi.
Yes, Ashley. Hi.
Excellent. Let me share the screen here so you can kind of see both of us.
Okay. I don't see your head, Ed. I see your chest.
Right.
Yeah, you'll kind of see us a little bit as it goes on, but
All right.
and then I'll bring you up and wait for it to catch up. There you are. Adjust that crop
Reversed.
there.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm on a delay, so I'll see you in a minute.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, Ashley's on a little
We have
bit
to
of a
see
delay.
Ourselves? Can we not see ourselves?
Let me see.
We don't need to see
Yeah,
us.
we're in a delay too.
There we
Yeah,
go.
well, let's just see you. That's good.
Okay.
Oh, well,
Yeah, because so everybody can see all of
ourselves
us.
again. That's okay. I'll ignore it.
Well,
Well, it's nice
welcome.
to hear you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. How are things going?
Oh, fine. Yeah, that seeing us. That's
It's a little weird to see
It's-
ourselves, and it's all jerky.
well because
and,
it's a delay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, you may have a little camera there somewhere. I'm not sure how that works, but
but as long as you see us okay.
oh yeah, we see you fine. You may want to rotate your camera a little bit towards Peter there.
Okay.
Oh yeah, now I can.
There
see
we
you.
go.
Better?
Yeah, perfect. There
We
we
did
go.
it.
All right. So welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having us.
Of course, it's our pleasure. We're happy that we get to talk to you. It's been a while since we've chatted.
Certainly
So
has.
Yeah.
not much has happened since then, thankfully. So
No, nothing.
So what have you been up to?
You want to take this one?
well, I don't know. Peter's learned all kinds of technology here.
yeah.
Yeah, I've been. Well, I do a radio show, as you probably know, called Folk Scene, and we're doing it in a similar fashion to this, another platform, but a similar way. And so we're doing the actual Sunday night shows. We're pre-recording them this way, and then we're starting to record guests with live performances and everything.
Oh wow.
So yeah, that's great because I was really missing that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I interviewed Lisa Richards in Australia.
Oh.
You remember her from Far West?
Oh yeah, we love Lisa.
yeah, we did an interview with her. I haven't edited that yet,
Yeah.
but it's that one went real well.
Oh, that's
That'll be
great.
on in November, I think.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I gotta get to
Because
that, yeah.
her album will be out in November.
Yeah,
so.
her new record's kind of
Oh right.
Oh cool.
But we managed to be busy the first month of the lockdown. I think I did 3 big jigsaw puzzles, and then from then on, it's just been busier than ever. Just one thing or another.
I mean, I think it goes without saying we really miss the venue. Doing. I mean, we love live music. We love presenting it and everything that goes along with it. And that's been really difficult not to be able to do that for everybody.
Yeah.
We've done some online shows, a couple of them, and we'll be doing another one in a couple of weeks. And
We have open mic.
we do
still
open mic, yeah, on
online.
Zoom.
Oh
Yeah.
okay.
Oh cool.
Yeah.
every Wednesday from 7:30 to 9:30, and it's really fun.
Right.
We've got some great players, and
Wow.
Tracy Newman has joined
Yeah,
us.
Tracy's been a regular.
and some other people that have been on Folk Scene before.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you
Carrie
join
Patrick
that
Clark has joined us.
party? How can you find that show
I
or
have
join?
a blurb on our Facebook page, the Fiddlers Crossing Facebook page about it, and I just basically tell people if you want to be a part of it, either message us or just put something right there, for everybody to see. Hey, I'm wherever I am, and I want to be part of the open mic, and I'll send them an invite, a Zoom invite, and then boom, there they are.
Fantastic. I'm so
Yeah,
glad
it's
you're
all
able to
pretty
continue
fun.
that.
Yeah, we are too. It's a kind of a highlight of our week.
Yeah,
And
I bet.
when and if we can, we're just going to say when,
Yeah.
resume
Oh, yeah.
Fiddlers Crossing in the venue, we'll probably continue this online at least once a month. Maybe.
Oh.
Yeah, people are really digging it, so why not?
I
It's
think
just
that's
good
something
camaraderie, too.
we're all gonna get out of this mess at the end is we're gonna see that online life online is going to continue. I mean, of course, we
Yeah.
all want it to open up in person too, but it's kind of interesting to see how we can resume a life online, and I don't think that's going anywhere. I think everyone wants to keep some kind of aspect of that in their lives because it has been an interesting way to connect through it all.
Yeah. It's and I mean the technology has been scurrying, I think, to keep up with the demand. Let's face it.
Yeah.
When we first all started using Zoom, it was a little dicey, and it seems like they've gotten the message that they needed to kind of up the ante a little bit, because I've noticed that they now have kind of a high fidelity version of the thing, and as long as your connection is good, the sound and picture is better than it was,
I
Yeah.
saw that.
which is a good thing.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we miss it. We had a whole lot of shows booked. I mean, we still have shows booked well into 2021 at
Yeah.
this point. Actual, in-person shows.
Yeah.
We'll see. Um, but when we resume, we will probably do one major show a month. We will do our first Friday kind of special open house kind of thing, and then we'll do our open mics. So we won't be doing two major shows a month. We're going to cut it down to one.
Okay.
But we are doing those shows on some of them online.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Just to support the artist.
Yeah, in
And,
fact, on October 16th, Friday, October 16th, we're going to have Kerry Patrick Clark from his place in Ohio. And
wow.
that's the exact day that he was booked to play our venue anyhow.
Oh, nice.
That we did something similar with Two Blue Roses,
Yeah.
Jeanette Lundgren.
Yeah.
And because we had the show scheduled, and of course we couldn't make it up to Oregon, so we did the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find that that the interest is still as high as it was in the online things? What's the dynamic, do you think, that's going on with all that?
I don't know. I think it was. We've only done it once, but at least that kind of a thing where it was an in-person concert. That was moved to online. I think there were a decent amount of people. I don't think it would have been as big as if it were in person. Ash, you did one sort of similar thing in San Diego. What do you think? Did you get any feedback on the response to that concert?
That had a pretty big turnout, I think. It's kind of hard to tell on that one because we weren't manning the stream. So I have I think you all know this, but I'm in a trio called Songbirds and with 3 women songwriters. So we did a show in Carlsbad, and it was at the venue. It was a beautiful venue, the Museum of Making Music, and there was a full stage and a sound engineer and lights and everything, but there was no live audience, so they streamed it. So it wasn't like what we're doing now, where I see the comments coming in. So I don't really know who was there, but I know afterwards the viewer count was really high. So
That's great to hear.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, I guess is the answer. It's hard to tell. I know it it seems invariably lower just by the virtue of it, but
I'm just wondering, now that we're so many months into this situation, is it the same as it was, say, back in April or May, or is it worse, or is it better? I don't have any feeling for that now, about how that's all doing online.
I think it got a bit oversaturated for a little while, and I think
Yeah.
it's just kind of normal now.
I think you're right.
Like, I think at the beginning it was so exciting and everyone was doing it, and or everyone was starting to, and then everyone was doing it. And then the problem with that is the fans didn't know what to watch because they'd be online and 5 of their favorite musicians would be performing the same time every single night. And so the fans just got burnt out. But I think now it's a little bit more normal. I think the musicians have leveled off, and like we've ourselves included have leveled off into a weekly schedule. Okay, this is when you see us, and this is when you see this person, and then the special events come up more seldom.
Yeah.
What have you noticed?
Not really. I mean, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
I don't really know. We did a couple of shows. Our first show we had with the Quitters, Stevie Coyle and Glenn Houston, from Glenn Houston's backyard. We had about an average of about 80 viewers.
Okay.
And they said they did pretty well.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then the second one was JC and Laney from their place.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And,
we know that from Arizona.
That was maybe 40 to 50 viewers, and there was some issue for some reason where we shared it on our Facebook page, so it originated on theirs, and there were people saying that they couldn't connect when they went through our page, and I couldn't quite figure out why that was. So that probably cut it down a bit, but they did well. They did well enough anyway, and they were very pleased. Our audience, the people that were there, seemed to really enjoy it. We'll see how we do with Carrie, but we just want to remain active. We want to remain a little bit visible,
Yeah.
just a little bit, so people don't think that we've just completely gone away.
Yeah.
I know when I talk to people in the community, whenever I happen to be able to speak to them at this point, they all say we miss you. We want the shows back. There's precious little going on for them.
Yeah.
But California still, we're not, and Kern County,
Yeah.
we're not having concerts.
No. And our venue, as you know, since you've played it, is intimate.
Mm-hmm.
And our audience, to be quite honest, I would say most of our audience is, on the more mature side.
Right.
So I would not ask people to go in there for a couple hours at this point. Certainly not.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's such a small kind of room. It just seems too dangerous
Yeah.
for
Oh, yeah.
people.
I mean, maybe when we finally do a real show, we might do it, outside, or we've got a church in town that's very amenable to working with us. We've done some shows there. Maybe we would do it there so people could really spread out. We're just not really sure right now.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm just happy though that you have plans to open up again, because it's just heartbreaking to see how many of the venues that we know and love are just like shutting down.
And we're really fortunate, just because our overhead is not very high, and we can we're not going to lose it.
Yeah, we own the building,
Yeah.
so we don't have to pay a mortgage.
Oh, that's
Right.
good.
And if we're not there a lot, the utilities aren't too bad.
Yeah.
Let's face it, a lot of these people are renting their venue, and they
Right.
can't. I mean,
We don't have to do that.
And
We still have to pay insurance,
Yeah.
and we have to pay taxes, and
and insurance has gone up, of
Yeah.
course.
Of course.
Of course.
So
California, everything is fire district now.
yeah,
Right.
like for instance, today thankfully, we're not near any fire. We're not in any danger of any kind, but the smoke from one or more of the fires is coming right through our area today.
Oh boy.
It's pretty smoky out there, actually.
Yeah, I imagine.
It's
Yeah.
bad. They've had 2 small fires here, but we have a major firefighting station here, so that they get them out right away.
Oh wow. Okay.
So both of them, one was 35 acres and one I think was 19 along the freeway. So boy,
Wow.
they're out immediately. So that's the good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
We know too many people that are in the up there and some that
Yeah,
have
we
been-
know people who lost their homes or who
Yeah.
almost lost their homes.
Right.
Yeah, musicians, friends of ours.
It's a tough thing for California.
Yeah. Yeah,
as
sure
you
is.
know.
Yeah. Well, I'm in San Diego, and we had a what's called the Valley Fire, and it was about 30 miles away from us. But it was just crazy how smoky it was. In fact, Ed's there in Arizona, and even he said he got the smoke.
Oh yeah.
there.
Like 3 days we had smoke overhead.
Wow.
Yeah, just everything was white, and Brad and I are coughing, and we're like, we don't have COVID. This is smoke.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, no, it's really
We
true.
both have been this morning because it
Yeah.
was so bad
Yeah.
Yeah.
outside. And, the mountain that is right across from our house, there have been mornings I look out and you can't see it.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Where'd it go? It's only a few miles away.
Yeah.
And it's a mountain 7,000 feet and it's not there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
But-
we're going with it just like everybody else, doing what we can. We've
Yeah.
kind of gotten, just like everybody else, we've gotten used to the situation as it is.
Mhm.
I will not say at any time that I have been bored. Some people say I'm bored. I'm not bored. I've got plenty to do. We've been reading books. We've been doing the radio program that I was talking about. Debbie's had a lot of work to do, inventory at her
Yeah,
at her
store.
business, and
Yeah.
so we're anything but bored. We're just doing different things in a different way, but
And there's always more jigsaw puzzles. If
Yeah.
we've been reading books to each other, actually.
Oh, that's nice.
Debbie, are you writing any books right now?
well, I'm trying to market the one that I have, the smoke in the smoke, the snake in the garden. I finally figured out how to, with help, how to market it on Amazon, and that's going well. And we're starting to. Well, we're lining up doing the audio.
Yeah, we're going to do an audiobook version.
Oh, fun.
Cool.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have the actress lined up to read it, and
Yeah, it's all ready to go. We're just
yeah.
all kind of a little husky.
Right.
Peter and I are each going to be reading a little part of it, so we're waiting kind of till the smoke clears, if it will.
everybody's having problems with their
because
voices.
we're all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well,
we
I
are
like
going to
a
do it, which will
smoky
be a great
voice.
deal of fun. It is rather tedious to do them, as from my point of view as an engineer.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know, as you would probably know, it's you don't have anywhere to hide. You're reading over silence. There's no music in there or anything, and so everything's got to be just perfect.
Yep.
And so it's a daunting task, but it's going to be great audiobook.
And I am getting back. I did early on, I did a rough draft of a play, and I put that aside at the moment because it needs more. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to get some other things wrapped up, like this inventory and so forth. I thought the first thing I would do is go through my closet, but pretty soon it was like, well, pull out the shorts, and the t-shirts, and a few pairs of socks and underwear, of course, and I haven't been back in there.
Yeah, some projects have gotten started and not finished.
Yep.
But,
Yeah.
We did. I gardened. We had the garden, so we had some fresh veggies. That's about over now, but
I think that
busy.
this thing's going to take its course however it does. But
Yeah.
I mean, even after there is a vaccine and it's still going to take many months, I think.
Oh, yeah.
It has to be
Absolutely.
distributed. People have to feel confident with it. Some
Yeah.
people won't, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
There will be a long psychological lag, I think.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
I just don't know when we're going to resume having live music. I would love to see it happen sometime in 21,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Hopefully this summer.
yeah.
But in the meantime, we're just trying to. At some point, we'll have to tackle the garage. I've learned how to shave him, and
Yeah.
We've learned how
Not paying for haircuts.
Nice.
Such as it is. I mean,
We've learned how to cut our own hair, but since we don't hardly go out to see anybody, it doesn't really matter. So
That's
grocery
fantastic.
store once or twice a month, and that's about it.
Yeah.
human beings are very
I
adaptable.
know.
It's
we do
true.
Walk the dog. Get out
We
and
do,
walk
yes.
the
I
dog.
walk him several times a day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
it's
dependent.
almost like, if you want to look at it this way, it could be considered a nice break, or not
some
nice
ways.
break, but a forced break.
Yeah.
You don't realize how frenetic life was getting
Yeah,
between all the concerts we were having.
Yeah.
I mean, we were there like for 3 weeks out of each month. We were doing something once a week. No, twice a week. Twice a
Well,
week.
open mic every week. First Friday plus 2 concerts.
Plus 2 concerts.
That's a lot.
And
That's
all
a lot.
the food and prep and everything that had to happen. Plus, Peter was running down to do folk scene in L.A.,
Yeah.
which he now doesn't have to do.
I would drive 90 minutes each way to go do the show.
wow.
And
Yeah.
then a day before to prep to get the gear together, and
Right.
then
I mean, I do miss recording live musicians. I really do miss it. That's something I really love to do. I've been doing it for 48 years.
Wow.
And so, I would like to get back to that for sure.
but not the running back and forth to LA. And also his regular work doing demos for voiceover artists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That disappeared for quite a while.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
well, you know what though? Unemployment came to the rescue.
Yeah.
And with the $600 federal add-in that's no longer there, but actually it was just fine. And when that dropped off was right about the time that the work started to pick back up.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm working. I've got some work coming.
Yeah. But he doesn't have to go to LA to a
I'm not
studio
driving to
do it.
LA to record somebody. Yeah,
bonus.
I'm doing it over. I use a platform called IPDTL, which is a broadcast quality platform
Oh.
where
Okay.
the person sounds like they're in the room with me.
Oh,
Cool.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, very high
Nobody wants to
quality.
drive to
And
LA.
we'll do the audiobook that way.
Yeah, we're going to record
As
the
well.
audiobook that way. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
because I have a couple listeners here asking about your book. So yeah, I think we kind of glazed over this, but Deborah did write a book, wonderful book called The Snake in the Garden, and I put the link in the show notes. But the question here is the book available in the UK?
Well, it's on Amazon, right? Yeah.
Okay, so I
Yeah, I
don't know
wonder
if
if
it's on
it's in the
Amazon
UK
UK.
store.
But it should be.
well, it's called. I'll put it in the.
Debbie's about to get the book so that you can actually see it.
Woohoo!
But yes, it's a wonderful book, and in my view, it's a movie. I would really like to see a feature film of this
Oh,
because
that'd
it's
be
very
great.
cinematic, and it's perfect for the times too. It's involves racism in Arkansas,
Yeah.
and it's both back in the 60s, and then most of it takes place in the 90s actually. Debbie could describe it much better than I can, but it's definitely very appropriate for the times that we're living in right now.
Oh, that's
Very
good.
appropriate.
That's good.
And here it comes, I hope.
Oh.
Yes, here it is. Okay.
Oh, Peter, can you move your camera down a little bit?
Yes, certainly.
Just a teensy bit.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, I want to see the book.
We can-
Oh, look at that.
There it is. There it is.
Nice.
Yeah, it's timely right now for the U.S. because it deals with racism
Yeah.
I'm saying
in
that, yeah.
Arkansas. Oh,
So
you
anyway,
telling
that's
him? Yeah.
it. Well, you
Wrote it
please
with
go ahead.
you tell me wrote it with a friend of mine.
Yeah.
So she's black and I'm white, and it gets into the minds of both the black people and the white people,
Mm-hmm.
because I grew up in L.A. where there were a lot of racists around me because older people had come from the South, and there were some that were just nice, sweet people, but just very blatant. And
Mhm.
my sister and I just thought that this was, what are they talking about? So anyway, we thought it was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, at the end of the book, we have an essay. I wrote an essay about where I'm coming from and my life growing up like that in LA. And Brenda did, there's one from her.
Oh,
about
that's
her
great.
growing up in Arkansas, Texarkana, Arkansas, under Jim Crow.
Oh, wow.
So we have two different perspectives, and as I said, I'm in the head of a couple of the racists. One that is just, I think, no hope, but
Mhm.
one, he moves just a tiny bit. He doesn't get off his stand. He's still a racist, but he at least thinks that the young people feel differently, and he at least will acknowledge that they feel differently and that he has to live with that.
Yeah.
And that's about as far as he can go, because I think that's probably as far as
That's a
these
common
folks
thing.
can go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a common
So-
thing.
Mhm.
yeah, but it's hopefully it gives some hope.
Yeah. That's
and,
great.
At the end of how we can be together. And
We are starting to see some sales lately.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
the Amazon ads have really helped.
Oh, wow.
I
Oh,
hooked
cool.
into one of the Amazon ad school.
Very involved
And,
process. A
oh
lot
my
of work.
I
God.
bet it is. I
How
bet.
you can figure it out yourself, I don't know. As I said, took the classes from this Brian Cohen, and I recommend it, and it's been helpful, and
Yeah.
I
Good.
still totally get it, but I'm going to go to his second class and figure it out.
Yeah.
Online classes.
But you are seeing results. The bottom line is you're seeing
definitely.
results. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I know Alice
Because
said she
otherwise
just
it
bought
just-
it just now on Amazon,
Yep.
so you just
Oh,
got it. You just
really?
sold another one.
Oh,
Oh,
no,
Alice. Yeah, great.
how great. Yeah,
Great.
it's hopefully it just will make people think without, it's tough, but
Mhm.
it's an easy read, and I'm sort of the Pollyanna. I have to leave people with a little bit of a good ending. I can't just have everybody die at the end.
This isn't
That
Game
would
of
be a
Thrones.
Scottish folk song.
That would be a Scottish folk song. An Irish one, somebody dies,
That's-
but the
yeah.
Scottish one's the whole town has to die.
We are talking about folk, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, we're still on folk. It's crimes against folk, actually. So,
Yeah.
So it'd be
it's
perfect
allowed
then.
to have a happy ending.
Oh, good.
One of the things we like to do on this particular podcast with the guests is have them share some kind of story from their experience, either playing or listening or presenting or whatever. So, I mean, if you have a story that just kind of jumps out at you,
I'm having to think about that.
Yeah.
You'd think after 48 years I'd have a story.
Yeah, at least you didn't ask us. I thought you were going to ask us to play there for a minute. Actually, we have been doing some, and we do some for open mic, but we're a little rusty.
Yeah.
Just that there have been times when I've seen people for the first time at, say, Folk Alliance, Far
Yeah.
West, in particular, that I've never heard of before, and just blew me away.
Yeah.
Beth Wood comes to mind.
Beth Wood.
Saw her a few years ago now, about 5 years ago or something like that, and I didn't even know who she was, and she hit the stage and just, had us right where she wanted us from moment one.
Nice.
And I'm so impressed with that. I've been around performers, like I said, 48 years now, and so when you see that, it's just something,
Yeah.
And I don't, that's not a specific story necessarily, but it's the
That's
kind
fine.
of thing that I really live for. Those wonderful moments in live performance where you're just transported. I love the performers who've been around a long time, and they're just so comfortable up there, and they just have you right where they want you.
Yeah.
And I like being there. And that's one of the reasons I personally love to present live music, is that I would love to, even though I may be very familiar with your music or whatever, but the fact is you're up there and you're captivating this crowd that we have assembled, and I like watching their faces.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
like watching them have a wonderful time and experience what we did for the first time, earlier.
Yeah.
And,
I sit in the back of the room and at Fiddlers Crossing and just watch people a lot of times, and it is really cool to just see, and you can tell the reaction after the first song. I'm always like, okay, are they gonna like these guys? Are they gonna like these? Is this too over their head? Is this too whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when they yell and hoop and holler, and these are people our age, they're
Mhm.
not young usually. Some are, but when they really let loose, it's just a wonderful thing to see. And then okay, they've got them.
And in such a small space, there's
Mhm.
nowhere to hide. I mean, it's such an intimate experience.
Yeah.
We've had performers tell us that they're more nervous playing in our little place than they are in a big hall. Because the people are sitting like 4 feet from them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no turning
The
those
other story
lights down.
is Zoe Mulford.
Oh, yeah.
Zoe Mulford.
Tell about that, and I'm going to get her book.
Yeah, yeah.
And show that.
Yeah, Zoe Mulford?
That name sounds familiar. Did we meet her last year, maybe?
She was at Far West
We might have met her last year.
this last time, and she has that book, The President Sang Amazing Grace.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
that's right.
right.
After the
Fantastic
shooting,
song
he
and
was in the
story
church and
too.
he
Yeah.
broke into Amazing Grace, and so she wrote the song. It's also a book, actually, an illustrated book.
Mhm.
And I just remember at Far West, she did this, and then she got to the point in the song where she plays Amazing Grace on the piano, and she said normally she starts singing it. She said, but she forgot to actually start singing it, and the audience just picked it up.
Oh,
And it was
really?
a real moment. It was a real moment. And I
While,
got the
while
book.
we're plugging books.
I'm
How
sure
we-
that it appears here.
There we
Oh,
go.
yep, there you go.
There. It's a big tablecloth,
There.
coffee
Awesome.
table book, but gorgeous, gorgeous. And you told him what it was about, the 215 mass shooting
Yeah.
in the Black Church in Charleston, South
Yeah.
Carolina.
Yeah. And it's so
And-
moving.
The illustrations are gorgeous. I don't know if you can see, but it's just a beautiful, beautiful
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
And
Wow. Oh, does it have sheet music in it as well?
it does.
Yeah.
I just saw that flash on the page.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she has, but just the basic.
Oh,
Amazing
nice.
Grace, if you
That's
will.
She
cool.
lives over in the UK, and we actually have her booked for next spring. We'll see
Yeah.
if we're able to do a show then. But
Yeah.
She's American.
She's
But
American. Yeah, she lives in the UK.
It's,
Okay.
It's just, and Joan Baez picked up and did a cover.
Yes, she did,
of
yeah.
the song.
Oh, wow.
That's how a lot of people knew it. But it was so moving because, and I remember watching the
Yeah.
funeral
too.
itself, and it's just that he was just like I don't remember whether he said any words or not, but it was just like
It was very organic.
yeah,
Yeah.
It was like he had nothing. What can you say? And so he sang, and it's like so
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just a touching moment. Our president actually singing Amazing Grace at this, was just
Yeah,
astounding.
it was
So,
incredible.
That was a moment though at Far West when she did that. Again, I had never heard of her. I had never heard the
No.
song, and I'm just sitting there, just blown away. You know.
Wow.
Yeah,
And we
I
were up
witnessed
close,
that too, and I remember
started
that being a
singing.
real moment. That was really
Yeah.
really something to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So we're hoping to do an interview with her. We haven't set it
Yeah,
up
yeah.
yet.
We're gonna try and do a folk scene interview.
Yeah. So
Oh, okay,
Zoe, if you're
good.
listening to this, we want to call you.
Great.
But that's what's so cool is that always before with folk scene, we had to wait until people would come to town,
To L.A.
to L.A.
Hmm.
They
Right.
happened to be there. They'd happen to be there on the Monday or Tuesday. Peter or both of us could get down there.
Yeah.
And, I did an interview with a band from Scotland.
Hmm.
And how often are they going to come from the islands they live on, the Hebrides, to come into LA? And so you had to catch them at that time. Now we don't have to catch them anymore. Like I didn't have to wait for Lisa Richards to
Yeah.
come to LA, and then we have to make sure our schedule jives with theirs and everybody.
Yeah, so
And
it's been cool
it's
in that
terrific.
way. It's very
Yeah.
been great. We did do a couple of rehearsals, she and I, Lisa, and I,
Oh.
to
Yeah.
make sure that the technology was doing what it was supposed to do, and
Yeah.
all of that. And but I was really glad we did it because once we actually hooked up for the interview, it went flawlessly, and she performed her songs live, did the interview with Debbie, and she's a very riveting performer too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's I'm very impressed with.
Yeah, right after Far West, we actually did a wine and song. Brad Colerick's Wine and Song in Pasadena.
Oh yeah.
And we did it with her, and it was so funny
Oh,
because we'd met her at the networking center, and she's like, "Oh, I'm Lisa Richards," and we're like, "Lisa Richards, Lisa? Oh, we're playing with you tomorrow night." It was such a funny thing, and we ended up getting together, and she's a wonderful human, and I actually bought her CD because I was so impressed with her music and her songwriting, and we listened to it on the road, and I just couldn't get enough of it.
It was really good.
Yeah, she's amazing
She's got a
songwriter.
unique point of view, and
Yeah.
Debbie really loves her song. So do I. Before I was a girl.
yeah, I relate
Right.
to
Yeah.
that so much.
That song is
It's
so
like,
good.
that was me. That was the kid.
Well, Debbie said that all the when we had her in our venue,
Oh,
that
right.
all the women in the audience were all nodding and yep.
Yeah, that was me. We wanted to just play and be in our jeans and didn't
Yeah.
want to have to dress up. And then suddenly, what? I have
Yeah.
to be a girl and dress up. And wait a minute, I've been just a person until then. And all of a sudden, you're off into this other category.
Yeah,
That,
yeah. It's
Yeah.
a unique
Yeah.
unique
Oh, just-
song, and I really don't know of anybody that's written that
What?
song.
Yeah, I
not
don't
quite.
know anybody writes quite like her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
She's,
Mhm.
she's definitely unique.
Or
But,
sings like her.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
So, Peter, can you
So-
tell us
Yeah.
how do we access folk scene radio?
That's a good question. Well, there's a couple of things going on there. Very briefly, there's a show every Sunday night. So tonight, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern, and that's on KPFK in Los Angeles, which for people who are within the signal area, it's 90.7 FM with a couple of other repeaters. But online, it would be kpfk.org. And we pre-tape that show on Wednesday afternoons from where I'm sitting right now with the hosts of the show in LA, me here in Tehachapi, and then the recorded music that's played, I play, and then the guest I've already, prepared. And then there's now another version of the show since last year on Folk Music Notebook. And I'm the host for that version. And that version has been running on Saturday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. But for the next couple of weeks, it's going to be at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific, because there's a festival. He's going to be running the Kerrville online version of the festival.
All right.
And then it
Cool.
runs again at 11 p.m. Pacific and 2 a.m. Eastern. But what that is I open the show and I talk a little bit about what we're going to hear, and then it's a feature from the Sunday night show. Not the same week as it's broadcast on that show, but it's a feature from that show, and then I wrap it up at the end. And so there's 2 versions of it. And then Alan's got the shows up on Apple Podcasts and a few other places, SoundCloud.
Okay.
So it's out there. It's folk scene, one word.
And you can hear it on the website. On Folk Scene, doesn't he keep it?
No,
oh,
it's
he
not
keeps
on the Folk Scene
interviews.
website, but
I
it's,
thought he kept the interviews up for a while.
he puts the interviews on SoundCloud
Oh,
and
he
Apple
does. Okay.
Podcasts, and there's one other one.
Okay.
But anyway, but if you're in the Southern California area, KPFK has a huge signal, 90.7 FM. You can check that out.
Cool.
And it'll be on tonight at 6 o'clock. Now they have just started their October fund drive, so there will be some pitching. Hopefully you.
'Tis the season.
Hopefully,
Yeah,
if you listen to it, you'll feel moved to give a few bucks to the station.
Yeah.
But if we don't do that, we can't do our show, or nobody can do their show. So.
Yep.
Right.
But that show has been on the air for 50 years. It started in 1970 with Howard and Roz Larman, who are both gone now. And I started when I was 15 in 1972.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And you had a license.
I had an FCC license when I was 15 years old, did a board shift on Sundays, which is how I met Howard and Roz. And they started taking me to places like McCabe's in Santa Monica, the Ice House Pasadena.
Yeah.
We went to the San Diego Folk Festival at San Diego State. This is all in the 70s, 74, 5, 6, 7 in there. And saw all these legendary performers who were still performing at that time, So I've got a long history in this.
Yeah.
We are in the process of archiving.
Oh, yes, the archives,
forget
yes.
that.
Our friend Ed, the other Ed, Ed Hammond, is over at his place archiving our show for us. He is an archivist by trade, so he really knows what he's doing. And he is transferring this material, notating everything, getting the dates right, hopefully, which isn't always easy.
Yeah.
And just, archiving it properly. So, and all this is going back to the what's it called? The folk
Southern folk
oh boy.
life.
Southern folk life. Anyway,
Center.
it's in Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Okay.
But meanwhile, we have boxes and boxes of 10-inch and 7-inch reel-to-reels under the piano, in the guest room closet, in my music store, and everywhere, every nook and cranny. But we're getting there.
They recorded everything they did and then some.
That's good.
And there are more than one copy of just about everything.
Wow.
And things aren't always properly labeled for a variety of reasons.
No, one was the Northridge earthquake.
Yeah, in
They were the
1994, there was a big earthquake in Northridge in LA, and and the Larmans lived just a few miles from there, so all their tapes on their shelves came crashing down.
Oh,
and
wow.
Many things ended up in wrong boxes, that sort of thing.
And a lot weren't even labeled to start with.
Well, there were tapes that were very cryptically labeled, like
Bruce.
Well, tapes that would say Bruce.
We knew who that was, though. That was
Bruce
Utah.
was Utah Phillips.
Yeah.
Kate would be Kate Wolf.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Ed is figuring it all out and logging it, and we had a couple old reel-to-reels that tape decks that we got refurbished by the
we had one rebuilt and
one
refurbished.
person in the country that can do that work, who happened to live down in LA.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah,
we have those back, and one of them is still.
Yeah.
Or there's one still in LA.
Yeah.
We have to.
But anyway, so it's I mean, it'll take the rest of our natural lives and then some.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll never get done with this, but
I'm continually prodding the boys to.
Yeah.
That's so
Because they were
important,
awesome.
though. That's so important that you're doing that, because otherwise it'll just get lost forever. And it's
and I mean, legendary performers and legendary performances.
Yeah,
really
exactly.
Amazing things.
And I'm basically a historian by education, so it's I'm aware of the history that is in these things. Yes, the musicians themselves and the songs, but the history of the recording industry and of the touring, how people were touring and what they were coming up with. But also there's just other history in general of the period that is thrown in there. It's like the interviews I'm doing now. I'm asking everybody about how they're dealing with the pandemic, because in 50 years, if someone gets a hold of these and
they
wants
will.
to know, little bits and pieces of the pandemic that may not even have anything to do with music.
No, it'll be very important historical information. You know,
Well,
Yeah.
it's context.
generations.
It gives
Yeah.
context to what people are
does.
actually going to
Yeah.
talk about.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
and some little extra bits that they may not know from other sources. So this material will all be in their archives and available eventually online for historians. It'll be years, but and we also, did you say, besides reel-to-reels, there's the VHS.
Well,
there's the
yeah, as
betas.
technology moved along, right? We have digital tapes. This is 1980s.
Like
we have
DAT tapes?
digital tapes on Betamax tapes.
oh,
Then on VHS tapes. Then DATs, as we all
that's
probably remember.
yep.
Then CDRs, etc. So we're dealing with a lot of formats. We still don't have a beta machine. I found a guy who has them.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, he restores them.
Oh,
So
wow.
we're going to send him our old, the betas that don't work for
Yeah,
us.
we have a machine that's trashed, but we're going to send it to him and trade it in on something that does work and give him the difference. Yeah.
nice.
But I remember when that came in, it was very cutting edge technology in 1983.
Yeah.
And our digital tapes go back to 83.
Well, that formed the Betamax formed the basis for DAT and ADAT
right.
and everything. So I
That's
mean,
right.
it was at the time, it was cutting edge. Just it didn't
Completely
wound up
cutting
losing.
edge. Yeah. And we're glad we did it, you know.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And some of the tapes will need to be baked in
Yeah.
food hide.
As you know, these things don't fare. It's funny, the really old ones, the ones from say 1970, 71 are better than the ones from say 1976, 77
Huh.
because the tape formulations changed without getting too technical. And what happened is that by the time those tapes came along later in the 70s and into the 80s, they were the kind that after 10, 15, 20 years start to fall apart.
Oh, I see.
They
Oh.
literally fall apart, and you it's called baking, but what you do is you
Yeah.
put them in a food dehydrator essentially, and you take the moisture out of them, and then they play for a while, and then you're able to transfer them,
And then they
Wow.
fall apart.
and then they fall apart again.
So just in time.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
can
you
save
see,
it.
I mean, obviously, a big company like Capitol Records or something, you know, they're in better shape because everything is in a temperature controlled, you know, everything's in a vault, but our stuff's been, you know, in a house and out in the San Fernando Valley, and now it's in Tehachapi. It's not stored in perfect surroundings, so
Yeah.
a lot of tapes will have to go through this process. Yeah.
But in the
So-
meantime, the guys are having to fix splices constantly.
Oh
We
yeah,
have
the
splicing
splices
tape.
all let go.
We
yeah.
all
right.
grew up in the cutting tape era.
Yeah, Debbie and I both
Yeah.
used to cut tape with a razor blade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we still have that equipment, or Peter does,
Wait,
and
there's my blade.
yeah,
Oh yeah, there it is.
There's Debbie's blade.
we have a young friend who is how old? He's
18.
He's 18 now, but he was. Yeah, well, he was 18. Obviously, he was younger before, but he had never even heard of cutting tape. He's a brilliant young mixer.
Well, you
But-
met him.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You remember
Yeah.
Ryan?
He's this
Uh-huh.
guy's just brilliant, you know.
Yeah,
He
a
mixes
great
on
guy.
his phone and does a brilliant job. Has ears that are just amazing. But it was funny because being 18 years old, he had no experience of anything before all this digital
Yeah.
technology that we're all used to now. So he came over to our house before the pandemic happened. And I said, "Would you like to hear a record?" Oh my gosh, yeah. What's that? You know. So I put this big 12-inch black thing on and put it on, and he listens to it, some jazz, you know, and he listens to it and he says, "Wow, it sounds like music."
That it does.
It was amazing. So we showed him how we cut tape, and his eyes got big.
Oh wow.
How could you do
How
that?
did you do that? Yeah?
Where's the undo button?
I used to literally go home from work with pieces of tape
know.
hanging from my pants on my socks. Really, I would get all the way home and realize there was tape hanging from my butt,
Everywhere.
you know.
Yeah, and you'd sit in the room and you'd stick little. I was in journalism more so, but you'd stick the pieces. Here's my little ums and my ands
Right.
and things on the wall that
Oh.
you might need later, and then you hope you don't have them upside down. And whoops! Oh,
You'd find out really quickly if they were backwards.
Wow. That's so interesting.
My boss used to say, "Put that put that sentence back in there where it was before, and I'd say, you mean the one I've been rolling over in my chair for the last half an hour?
Oh man.
It was wild.
That's when you know you're old, when you can remember all this
I
stuff.
know. It was fun. It was an art.
It is an art.
It is an art. Its own art form.
But you know,
Yeah.
when I first got into, digital editing, as we all just take for granted now, but it was a huge leap for people like me.
Yeah.
Just to wrap your head around that editing will no longer, it's not a linear process anymore.
Yeah.
And you're not ever really throwing anything away. You
Yeah.
can always get it back, right?
It's
That
crazy.
was like unheard of.
That's
you know,
crazy.
I mean, if you did roll over it with your chair, it was now dead.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting because you obviously have such a knack for it, both of you, because you've been able to keep up with the changing times, and you're able to hold on to that knowledge of the past and also bring it into the modern
Well,
future.
the
It's pretty
past
amazing
always
because not
informs
everyone
it.
could do that.
So I still think in a very old school analog way when I'm editing or mixing or anything else I'm doing with it, because that's my training,
Right.
and I'm glad to take advantage of all the new technology. It's wonderful.
Mhm.
If I had this kind of technology 35 years ago or something, when I was slaving away in a room without windows with tape, I think it would have been a lot easier on me,
Yeah.
But
I
Those
just
were the
for my
times.
for my part, I leave it all to him now. The techies. Okay, some little thing happens to Peter.
but it's hard, I will
Yeah.
say that it, as you get older, it does get a little more challenging to stay on top of all of this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you tend to be a little more technologically conservative. That is, you find a technology you're comfortable with or a platform that you like to use, and just as you've gotten really used to it and really like it, they upgrade it or change it in some way, and now you're cursing it because
Right.
Yep.
it doesn't work the way it used to, whether it's Facebook or Zoom or anything else.
Ugh, I hate the updates.
I mean, really, Facebook just changed their whole thing, right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
looks different.
It looks
now.
totally
And
different
I've
now.
seen a lot of people saying they can't stand it. They want to go back to the way it was. Can't find a button that they used to be able to find.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Every time there's a new Windows release, it's just like,
It's frightening.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Whether you're on Mac or Windows, it's just frightening. Oh my God, a new operating system. Oh my God.
Yeah. How do I do searches? So I've got to go through this now to
Well,
do it?
and
It's
then
like,
when you're
oh.
doing the kind of things that we're doing, whether it's video editing, audio editing, whatever, it becomes really important, because is the technology going to change such that what you're trying to do, is it going to change in a big way? Will you no longer be able to use it with a certain piece of hardware?
Right.
Will this just suddenly stop working? It's frightening. In the analog days, we didn't really worry much about it. A tape recorder was a tape recorder.
Yep.
And whether it was made in 1960 or 1970 or 1980, it still did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
Absolutely.
that's not true now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
So
no idea
it's,
what I'm doing, so like I've got my home studio and it's pretty basic, and I'm like, okay, this cable goes in here and this goes in here, and
Yeah.
I think, okay, and go, nope, still not working. Why is it not working?
Right,
Well, I don't know.
right.
Let me just do it again. Okay, now it's working. I don't
You're
know.
still at the mercy, though, of
Yeah.
the software geeks who are deciding that they need to improve it and sell you a new version.
Yep.
Yeah, that
You're still
is
at their
a
mercy.
problem.
You know,
Yeah.
I know. Can we just leave it?
I think that's the thing.
Set it and
That's the
forget
thing.
it.
No,
No,
of course not.
They can't. They won't have a job. If
Yeah, they won't be able to sell you anything new.
Yeah.
That's true.
Ed loves new stuff, though. Ed loves new gear and like figuring. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm
Ed,
a
but-
bit of an early adopter, especially with
Of
software.
course, Yeah, yeah.
But that sometimes comes back to bite me in the ass a bit. But
Yeah, yeah,
But
it can.
I can't
Well, I
help
mean,
it.
like when I do my live recording, which again I have not done since February, basically March. But when I get back to it, I'm using a certain, mixer that, because it's an older mixer that literally uses FireWire. Not
Oh.
only am I stuck having to have systems that will work with FireWire to record with it, but I can't go beyond Windows 7 with it either,
Oh
because
man.
it's old enough where there's no Windows 10 driver for it, without getting too technical. So the bottom line is that I have to maintain a couple of laptops, which I do, that have the older system on it that are able to mate with this hardware, and it works beautifully.
Yep.
But that's a perfect example of how things moved along and left me a little bit in the dust, and now I must maintain this hardware, keep it working, and keep machines that have an older operating system on them to be able to work with it.
Yep. That's the
Unless
march
I
of
want to
progress.
change the way I do everything, which, again, at my stage, I really don't want to unless I have to.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm approaching that point too, where I'm just like, this is the software I like using, this is the interface I like using, but the ports on the computers are changing, the requirements are changing, and so I just have to I have to make do with what I can until I just can't anymore,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it. And we didn't used to think that way before all of this,
Right.
If you had a tape-based studio, you simply maintained the machines, you put new heads in them once in a great while, and you aligned them, and you took care of them.
Yep.
And just like keeping an old car running, you just kept it running,
Mm-hmm.
and it would do the job year after year,
Yep.
And there are still, as there are still people recording that way, and they love it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew people who had G3s with Pro Tools 5, 10 years ago still. So it's just like.
But I'm saying there are people recording on analog tape right now as we speak.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I interned at Blackbird Studio in Nashville, and the Rockatours did an entire session. They brought a machine in, turned off the computers, and did the whole thing. I mean, every night you'd go in to clean, and you would see the floor just littered with 2-inch tape. It was everywhere because they were cutting and editing and stuff like that.
Yeah, and
So.
it's an art form unto itself, but it's it is interesting to me though to see because I remember buying records at the record store. Remember record stores? I remember riding my bike as a teenager, riding my bike down to the record store, buying a brand new record by somebody I was really into for $3. In fact, I remember when there were mono records and stereo records, and the mono record was $3, and the mono record was $2, and the stereo record was $3. I had the Rolling Stones Between the Buttons album in mono from 1967 because all I had was a little kiddie record player at that time. But anyway, my point is, I see it. I think it's a little amusing, but I think it's cool that vinyl is like the deal that it is today, because we were all told back about almost 40 years ago now that was going to disappear forever, that our record collection would be worthless, that we had to have this new format and then the next new format, and etc. And now I'm seeing it's a big deal to have vinyl out on the marketplace.
Yeah.
But the records aren't $3; they're $25 or $30.
Yeah.
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 I'm noticing on the chat here that Alice Williams is having Alice commiserating with us.
She says we still have some record stores in St. Louis. Well, good for you.
Oh yeah, Vintage Vinyl is the record store in St. Louis. You go down to the U City Loop and go to Vintage Vinyl. They have everything there for sure.
It's like a real hipster thing now, like your record stores are cool again. Like you said, the vinyls come back, and so it's like people love. It's a collector's thing. It's a hipster thing, and it is fun. I mean, I had a roommate in Nashville for a while that had a huge record collection, and it would be so much fun to comb through it and pick out your record. And I'd never done that before because I didn't grow up with records, and put it on, and then someone would cook our dinner in the house, and then someone has to go flip it. I really, really enjoyed the whole experience of it. It was like you felt really hands-on with your music,
That's something I was going to get to, is that, one thing that's missing from the experience of music that just streams out of a box is that you don't, not that that's a bad thing, but that you don't get this visceral, physical connection. It's a ritual. You would buy your record and you couldn't wait to get it open and pulled the record out so carefully, and then put it on the turntable, and then read the liner notes and looked at the pictures. And it's a whole ritual.
Yeah.
And it's a connection that you don't have without a physical product.
Yeah. And you loved it when they had the words.
Yeah, the lyrics.
Either on the sleeve inside or sometimes on the back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think streaming's great. I know, don't get me wrong. It makes music available to people instantaneously, easily.
Mm-hmm.
Your music can be wherever you are. It's a very cool thing. But I also think it's also very cool that to have an object and to really connect with it. And one musician that we had interviewed on the show said something to the effect of that what's nice about a record is, or even a CD, well, not so much a CD because you can bounce around on the disc, but with a record, you tend to just put the thing on and let it play from the beginning and then turn it over. And so you're pretty much locked into the way the artists and producers wanted you to hear it, in the order that they wanted you to hear it, because a record, like a movie or anything else, has an arc to it.
Yep.
And I think that's lost when you just stream a song that you like.
Yeah, it's true, though. I hear people who do kind of they still sequence their albums that way. Because I went, and so you can kind, if you've listened to enough music, you can hear it. Like, oh, that's where you were supposed to flip it over, but it's like a modern album. So I think some artists still think that way, but you're right. Like it is a different experience when you are like, no, this is how you have to listen to it.
Yeah, but there's something to be said for that, though, because it's like, again, it's like watching a movie. There's an arc, there's a story, and so many records. I mean, records way back when in the 50s and early 60s really weren't built that way for the most part. They were just collections of songs, to be honest. Right. Because the word album comes from the 78 days when you'd have literally an album of 78s, a single and then a B-side, a single and then a B-side, and that was an album. But it wasn't until the late 60s, people like the Beatles and Joni Mitchell and James Taylor and other people that came along, Cat Stevens, when all these people came along and created the album as an art form that had to be in a very particular order for it to make the statement they wanted it to make.
Wow. Wow, okay, I didn't know that.
You think about it. Oh, yeah, very much so. Albums, if you look at albums from, 1962 or something, they're just a bunch of songs thrown on there.
Yeah.
Well, but they were a little bit built like...
Well, Frank Sinatra did that.
Yeah.
Frank Sinatra did In the Wee Small Hours, things like that, where it was really designed to create a mood.
But they were built like you might do a set as you go.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Somewhere, but in the pop world, not quite as much.
Kingston Trio records
They did, yeah. But if you look at like early Beatle records, the real early ones, it's really not, there's no particular arc to it. It's just a bunch of songs thrown together and happens to work well. But it really wasn't until later, Sgt. Pepper's is probably the perfect example of an album that really needs to flow the way that flows.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense otherwise, yeah.
No, if you scrambled that record up, I mean, you could, I guess.
You could.
Lovely Rita before, she's leaving home or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think well, and also, I remember when the record came out, and so it's so burned into my consciousness, those records.
Yeah.
So I heard them when they were new, when they were hits on the radio.
Yep.
And but I remember that changing in the late 60s and into the early 70s. The album became a real art form unto itself.
Wow. That totally makes sense now that I think about it. And I think about like albums that I've looked at from the time before then and then post 70s. Yeah. Huh. I hadn't really considered that until you mentioned that just now. So
yeah. Well, I definitely. Well, I can say I saw it happen.
Yeah. Well, we're just about out of time. We really want to thank you both for joining us.
Yes.
This has been a wonderful conversation. I just, it's great to kind of reminisce. We're trying to kind of celebrate a little bit of Far West, and since we're not able to go this year.
Right.
Yeah. And a little bit about just, kind of hoping to get music back. But we did have one more question for you, and we asked this of everybody that's on the show. If you were to have any superpower, what would it be? Anything at all.
You can make it up, or it could be an existing one.
Don't.
I'll give you the hard question.
Everyone has a hard time with this question. You're not alone.
It is kind of a personality test, I think, in disguise. But
oh boy, a digital Rorschach test.
Yeah.
A superpower?
Yeah, anything.
Control the climate?
That's
nice one.
Bring us rain right now.
Yeah,
Not
that's a good one.
A hot summer anymore, and in the drought and in the hurricanes and floods. We still need rain and we still need changes of seasons, but it doesn't need to be this severe.
Yeah, right.
for me, I think it would be more about education. I would want to somehow magically make sure that everybody had access to a good, solid education, knew their history, knew
Yeah.
their language well, especially history. I'm big on history
Yeah.
because I think if you understand history, you understand the present much better and where we might be going.
And
Yeah.
that people actually appreciated it and listened.
Yeah.
Those are good
Because
ones,
as
and
they
I love
say,
that
it's
both those
spelled-
answers are about bettering humanity and the world. And
Yeah.
that just that, as Ed said, as a personality test, that just shows how wonderful you are. And we're so honored to have you on this show today, and just to be your friends in general.
And well, we look forward to being able to see and hear you guys in person again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hopefully so.
Just your shows were wonderful. I mean, I just some of the songs again, as we were talking about the Fiddlers Crossing audience, and of course, I'm thinking particularly right now of a couple songs, but Ed's song that you did solo.
Mm-hmm. What I knew.
Oh, probably What I
That's
Knew.
all I know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
What I Knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful song.
And of
Thank
course, you
you.
guys were great at Far West.
Oh,
That was
yes.
That was a
wonderful.
fun time.
Yeah.
That was fun.
That
Next
was fun
time, I'm
time.
gonna bring like 7 tambourines next time.
Oh,
Do you remember that?
Yes.
So I played their show, and
Where's
I
the
can't
switch?
remember how the turn of event. I like had 0 tambourines, and then I had 2, and then all of a sudden, and then like so I was talking about how I had no tambourines, and then all of a sudden I had 3, and someone from the audience brought me up like 3 more tambourines. So like,
Oh, at Fiddler's
I think I
Crossing.
played them all.
Right.
Oh, that's right.
We scrounged
That's
all around and found you some. That's right.
Yeah.
Tambourines are not.
Well, you at a jam, you always are a little wary of the guy showing up with the 8 tambourines.
That's true.
Yeah,
Well,
early
once
on
again,
when I had a Celtic band that you don't put the tambourine live. You don't let them play live. You just add that later. But if you do it live, man, we've got one song on there that's just all tambourine.
oh, like
yeah.
were they right in the microphone with it?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That's your worst nightmare as an engineer.
Well, yeah. I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Guilty.
me too.
Guilty. They can't hear it. I have to get it a little closer to the mic.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
We can't hear anything but that.
Ashley, what?
Lower it a little. Well, again, thank you both so much for joining us. We
bet.
really hope you had
My
as
pleasure.
much fun as we did. And
Yeah, sure.
be sure, everybody, to check out Fiddlers Crossing on Facebook. Search for Fiddlers Crossing.
And folk scene radio.
And check out Folk Scene Radio, historic show. You're going to love it.
And Snake in the Garden. So many
And
things.
Please also give a shout out to our Ron Olesko Folk Music Notebook. It's a
Folk
wonderful
Music Notebook.
24-hour-a-day folk station, and it's really terrific. So check
I
that
did
out.
put that link in the
Great.
chat, so I'll drop it again.
Thank
Yeah,
you
we'll put
very
it in the
much.
show notes.
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll say goodbye
Okay.
for now.
All
and
right.
hopefully we'll see you and talk to you again soon.
Thank you so
Okay.
much,
Yeah,
both
thank
of you.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 I love how you never really know on our shows what direction we're going to go in with our guests. Like,
Yeah.
I don't ever preconceive an idea of what we're going to actually end up talking about.
Yeah.
Because, we try to keep it music related, but like sometimes it just goes, last week we were talking to Ben Grace about mental health. And then this week we're talking about cutting tape. Like I wasn't expecting that. And that was really cool.
That's exciting because, myself, I didn't get to experience that really either. Like when I went to audio school,
Yeah.
in Nashville, I went to SAE. I was the first class they stopped teaching tape to.
Oh,
So
man.
I missed it by one class.
Oh, that hurt.
So I would see the tape machines in there and be curious about them, but I never really learned how to use them. There were some students after us that just they would do like a tape workshop, and there were some students who got into it more, and like my friend Cam, who wound up working at strictly a tape studio in Nashville
Right.
for a while. Welcome to
Welcome,
1979.
Yeah.
But yeah, I missed the boat on tape as well. So it's interesting to
Well,
hear about it.
If I know a little bit about you, Ed, I think maybe you probably prefer to be in the modern technology world
Yeah,
anyway.
I think you're right. I think I
Yeah.
prefer.
Although it would have been interesting.
Yeah, it is still interesting. It is still interesting, but
Yeah.
yeah, so it was wonderful conversation with Peter and Debbie. They're fantastic. Please do check out Fiddlers Crossing, check out Folk Scene, check out the Folk House. What was it? You have to remind me of the other one.
The Folkstein Notebook.
Yes.
Or folk. What did I say? Folk.
We'll make
Folk
sure.
Music Notebook.
Folk Music Notebook.
Yeah, folkmusicnotebook.com.
Correct. And we'll put all that in the show notes
Yeah.
as well. So now we're gonna move on to our tips and tricks segment.
Yay. So, and I just want to say hi to Aunt Mama real quick.
Hey,
We're so excited. Is going to be our guest next week.
yay!
So wants Ed to ship. She wants you to ship her your brain, Ed.
Can't ship to damaged goods. Hit the fail. So,
Oh, womp.
but I appreciate the sentiment nonetheless. But yeah, this week, and again, in keeping with our Far West theme, we're going to just talk about a few cool things about Far West. Again, we
Yay.
can't be there this year, but
No.
hopefully we'll prepare you for next year.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Hopefully it'll happen next year.
yeah, hopefully it'll happen next year.
Whatever year it does happen, we do highly recommend that you go. And we also, I don't think we mentioned this yet, but or maybe we have, but Far West is actually like a subchapter of a larger organization called Folk Alliance International. And Folk Alliance happens typically in Kansas City every year, although I think they change sometimes. I think it's happened in Montreal.
It's been rotating
New
It's been rotating the past few years. It was in Montreal, I think, 2 years ago. It was in New Orleans this past year, or this year, I think. And but it typically happens in February, so I think it happened before the pandemic really set in.
Yeah,
So-
it did, because I remember our friend Lisa Sanders went to that actually. But it's a huge event. We have not, well, Ed and I kind of dipped our toes in
We snuck
Kansas
in.
City once. Yeah, we snuck in once. But it's just mind-blowing how big this folk conference is, and it's the exact same as what we've been talking about with Far West this whole show, except Far West is much, much smaller and more manageable, and is the Western region, hence Far West chapter of Folk Alliance. These chapters happen all over the country. There's a Southern chapter, there's a Midwest chapter. I cannot remember all the names of them. There's like Farm, and like they all have like an acronym of some sort. And but right now we're focusing on Far West because that's the one we know and love.
And don't let the West. That doesn't mean you can't go if you're in New York or Florida.
Oh, yeah.
You can still go.
Yeah.
It's just they're all regional, just to make it a little easier for people in that region to kind of connect. A lot of them go to Folk Alliance International, but they want to have another chance to connect. They don't want to wait a year to reconnect and cultivate their own communities in the region. So that's just don't let the fact that it's Far West deter you from going.
And if you're a storyteller, there's also something for you, which is we're going to touch more on that next week. So be sure to tune in with Aunt Mama next week, because we're going to talk to her a bunch more about the Storyteller Expo that happens during and after Far West. But in the meantime, here's why you should go.
The first benefit of Far West would be for house concert hosts, like much like Peter and Debbie, though I would argue there's, because more of a concert series, a lot of concert hosts can stand to benefit from going to a conference like Far West, because you have everybody there at the same time, and you have kind of these quick fire ways to meet people through the private guerrilla showcases, and you can even host your own private guerrilla showcase and invite people in. Like, so for instance, if you've heard of an artist before, but you're wondering what they are like as a performer, maybe you didn't get as good of a look as you wanted. If you happen to be going to Far West and that artist happens to also be going to Far West, you can schedule your own private guerrilla showcase and reach out to that artist and say, hey, I'm holding a showcase. Would you like to perform in my showcase? And then you get a chance to see this artist before you actually book them on the show. So it's a really great way to network with artists and with other concert hosts as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the, we've played some really beautiful house concerts due to just meeting the house concert hosts at Far West. And yeah, as mentioned, it's a lot of, we've talked about this before, and you know, house concert hosts, they may not book you if they haven't seen you live yet. And so this is a great chance to get live in front of a lot of house concert hosts at once.
Yep.
Another great benefit, and this one is very dear to our hearts, and you'll see why, you know, is
might be the most important one in my opinion.
I think you might be right, actually, is the friends, because you meet at this conference, and even it happens so fast, it's a blink, but there's something about it that really bonds you to the other people that show up. And even if you only talk to somebody for a little while, there's like, you're gonna be Facebook friends, you're gonna be Instagram friends, you're probably gonna do a show together. If you're musicians, you're probably gonna see each other at another event and be like, Far West. Like it's really just a bond that's thick, and their slogan is Far West Connects, and you feel it so hard when you go. And when you know, you see somebody later, how do I know you? Far West. Oh yeah, okay. And you're like in the club, and it's like-minded people. It's for you know, for example, well, you know, Rick and Laura Hall, we had them on our show already, and they're amazing musicians, and they became really, really dear friends of ours. And in fact, when we come through LA, sometimes we stay with them and just have the best time. And we never would have met them if it had not been for Far West.
That's
you
true.
know, even Petty Chavez, like, they're going to be on the show in a couple of weeks.
Wonderful people.
Amazing duo. And I think like Ed met them in the hallway and was like, you got to meet this duo. They're so cool. And so I was like, oh. And then I saw them walking around. I was like, you guys are Petty Chavez. Ed said, you're really cool. I'm supposed to talk to you. And now we're all friends. So it's just like, that's how it works. And it's really special.
So yeah, it is a little easier, I guess, because everybody's there for the same reason, to kind of connect through music. So I was a little surprised for myself that how easy it was to really connect with people. It's not easy for me in general to do, but I think everybody goes there with the same attitude. It's like, hey, you know, everybody, we're here just to kind of hang out and have fun. We're also here promoting our stuff, but it's really kind of laid back. It's not high pressure like a lot of other places are. So it's a really great environment to actually make friends out of other musicians. Like Licity, for example, who we had on the show earlier too. She just walked up to me and sat down, and we started talking. That's it, you know, and wound up just kind of staying in touch after. Like, that's kind of what happens at the show. You just sort of see somebody, or you hear somebody playing, and you're like, wow, they're interesting. And then you can go meet them and hopefully become friends. So it's a really great opportunity to make connections and make friends that you probably wouldn't get otherwise.
And it's so important with musicians. It's so important to connect with your other musicians, because you guys are going to share information. You're going to learn from each other. Yeah. You know, you're going to share contacts. They might pull you in on a show, or they might, I don't know, you just somebody to talk to. I mean, Ed's been helping a lot of the Far Westers set up Jamulus, you know, and stuff like that. And if you know, if you know, Petty Chavez, if they didn't come sit down next to him, you know, maybe they wouldn't know about it. Stuff like that. It's just like really, really cool to do that. You know, it's really cool to meet people and just broaden your horizons a little bit. That
kind of leads into the next thing, which is that you will definitely get inspired. I think it's sometimes as a musician or as a creative, inspiration depends largely on your mindset. And so I think, you know, the benefit of going to somewhere like Far West is that everyone's there for the same reason. Everyone's there to kind of celebrate folk music. And so it's really easy to be in a positive mindset and get inspired by what you see. So, like, you see somebody and they're an amazing musician. They're probably just the best guitar player you've ever seen. To some people in some situations that might be demoralizing. Like, oh, geez, I'm never going to be as good as that person. But in this case, I think in this environment, it's inspiring because you might be getting up on that next stage and sharing that stage with them. It's not a competition. It's more of just like, it's a conference. Everybody's there to connect. Everybody's there to be inspired by everybody else. So by watching these other musicians and by hearing their music, it's so inspiring to be able to take what you can from that and, maybe get the creative cogs running again, that sort of thing. I know that's happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And it centers around folk music, but that's not the only music that's there. And folk music has become such a wide umbrella anymore. And you're going to get some, which is where we get our podcast name from, Crimes Against Folk, because we don't play like traditional folk artists, but Witherword is a folk duo at its core. And Ed plays electric. And that's where,
and
again,
you do too.
Now I play electric too. But you know what? We're still a folk band, and we get that sound still resonates. And so you're gonna get a few like traditionalists kind of like, that's not folk, but pay no mind. In my opinion, your other musicians should go experience this as well, even if you are in a rock band and you have to put it down and I was in a rock band once and we went to Telluride Bluegrass Festival and competed as a bluegrass band. You know what?
Yeah.
It's going to broaden your horizons, and it might just influence you in one way, or you might just discover a new kind of music that you want to play. I mean, music is music, right?
Yep.
Don't have to put labels on it.
So it's really easy at a conference like Far West to get inspired to enhance your craft, or to just go write something new, or to just, maybe even start your own concert series. Who knows? You'll talk to a lot of people there, and they've started concert series, and you're like, oh, I didn't know it was that easy. So There you go.
We need more house concerts out there. I know nobody's having them right now, but when they return, we need more.
Yep.
And I mean, this is just a short, simple thing, but it looks good on your resume, especially
Sure does.
Whether you have a showcase, an official showcase, or a guerrilla showcase, you can add that down to something you've done. Especially a lot of festivals will ask you, like, where have you been? What have you done in the recent year? You can say, I've showcased at Far West, and that's a good tick to have.
Absolutely. And finally, the last benefit is really just to have fun. Like, if you've been to conferences before, sometimes they're just not very fun. Even as musicians, sometimes they're just not. There's a lot of pressure to maybe network, or maybe there's a goal you have in mind that you're really focused on. The main benefit of Far West is that it's so laid back, and you don't really. You can have an agenda, you can have a schedule, but the main thing is to have fun and enjoy just what's happening around you. Like, you again, it leads back to the other points we've mentioned, but it's a better chance for you to get inspired. It's a better chance to connect with people. So I think if you go in with that mindset of like, okay, this is just a conference, I'm just going to have fun, I'm going to listen to a lot of really good music, I'm going to meet a lot of really cool people, then you're going to get the most out of it than I think you will out of any other conference. And as Ash alluded to earlier, it is a smaller conference than Folk Alliance International, so it may not be as intimidating. And that's true of the other regional conferences too. They're not quite as big as FAI. So if you're thinking about going to if you think about eventually going to FAI, maybe try going to one of the regionals like Far West first. They also don't cost as much, the regionals. So
yeah, especially if you buy early.
Yeah,
get in early.
Make sure you buy early.
apply for a showcase. And yeah, and you know, Aunt Mama just chimed in, and this is another benefit is you meet a lot of radio show hosts like Aunt Mama, and you can just hand them your CD right when you're there, or if they, you know, if it's a streaming thing, just hand them your information right there, done. No millions of emails crossed, you know. It's like the personal connection has been made. And you know, Aunt Mama has played our tunes multiple times on her show because we were able to meet her in person and become friends and talk, and she enjoyed our story, and we enjoyed her storytelling, and like now she's gonna be on our show next week. It's just like the connections are just endless, and you really get as much out of it as you want to. Really, you do kind of have to be weary of your time though, because it is a 3.5 to 4 day conference, and it does go, I mean, you can keep busy from 8 a.m. to 4 a.m. if you do everything. So you just can't do everything. You should build in naps. It's best to stay at the hotel. But also, I mean, we stayed with our friends, and then we stayed in an Airbnb close by because it was a lot cheaper. But, you know, if you want to, it is easier because then you can just take the elevator up and take a nap and go back. And it's not just for musicians. You know, my fiance Brad has gone with us the last 2 years, and he absolutely loves it. And
He's a big music fan. So
if you're
it's
a
just
fan,
as fun for him.
Absolutely. Any of them. If you want to go, I mean, how cool is that? Like an entire floor of a hotel room, every single hotel room becomes a mini concert venue. And all you have to do is jump from room to room to room to room just to hear some really, really incredible music. It's quite an experience, and it's very overwhelming, and you want to sleep for like 3 days after it's over.
Yep. So, there's some wonderful benefits of the Far West conference. You can, I believe it's farwest.org, far-west.org, if you want to learn more about Far West. And we're going to be talking about a lot more, so buckle up. We're going to be talking about Far West and sharing stories for the entire month of October.
Yep.
Yeah,
next week, like we said, we've got Aunt Mama who's watching right now, and we're going to ask her a lot about the storyteller portion of Far West, which is really something special on its own.
Oh, yeah.
And Aunt Mama also has a radio show as well, a Seattle-based radio show that you can learn more about. So Aunt Mama, if you have a link to that, there's a YouTube link that we put in the chat here, but if you have another link, let us know, and we'll put it here, and then we'll put it in the show notes. But you'll definitely learn more about that next week.
Yep. All right. So we'll move on to Q&A here. So we do have one question from Aunt Mama.
Yeah.
Do artists build albums for radio stream home listeners? I'd say so. I think once it became clear that the format is changing. Like the format changed, in my opinion, when we moved from cassettes to CDs. Because with vinyl and cassettes, the experience was a little bit the same. Where you got a CD or you got a vinyl or a cassette, and you put it in and you listen to the first side in the order that it was done, and then you flip it over. Well, with the CDs, there was no flipping over. So CDs you could sequence differently than a vinyl or a cassette. So I think it started changing right around then when people would sequence an album differently. So it's the shift towards singles, I think, started to peak out just a little bit more because they were designing the album around the singles rather than how everything would play out in the album. And so, and then once the iPods hit and iTunes hit, then it became even more about the singles because it was easier to just make a single and throw it out there. And right now, I think it's still the case. You know, it's easier to throw out a single. You can just, pay $20 for CD Baby, and it's and then your singles everywhere. But I also think that if you are still sequencing for vinyl, you're still going to make your entire album that way because people, you don't want to sequence for different format. You don't want to sequence for different platforms. It just takes too much time, I think. So if you're sequencing for one, that's how it goes. But I don't know. I think there have been some kind of experiments in how to sequence or build albums for different formats other than simply a album format or a vinyl. What do you think?
Well, I think we also just have to do it all. We have to, I mean, there's too many different kinds of listeners, and we really have to try, and as artists, we really have to try and hit everybody, and cover everything. So, I mean, I know like the popular thing to do now is release singles, but a lot of people still really love the albums. So it's good to release a single and follow it up with an album, kind of a thing, you know?
Yeah.
And then, you know, I know we have a couple people in the chat who really want us to put out vinyl, and it's still very expensive, but we will look into that, into doing that.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah, but you have to, and that, I mean, you have to cut differently than you do something you're going to release online. So it's just like,
yeah, you have to master it differently.
Who do you record for? Yeah, you have to keep everything in mind. As you know, there was a time when Ed and I would try and just focus. We're like, okay, well, what can we get all of our listeners to this one platform and just get everyone here instead of doing multiple things at once? And I don't think that's the case anymore. I think now it doesn't you don't need all of your numbers to come from all your streamers, your numbers, as in listeners, people watching, listening, to come from one place. It's okay to have it come from multiple sources because everyone's got their flavor, you know, and just to try and at least try and give something to everybody, I think then you're going to be able to cover all the bases.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, well, just
any other ones, or is that it?
One more quick question, and we can touch on this briefly because we have talked about it before, and we talk about it every show towards the beginning, but I will answer it now. Is someone on we're streaming on talk about streaming multiple places. We are streaming on bandlab.com right now, and Kaijun says, or Jesse Elias says, how are you guys jamming with minimal lag? So we're working with a program called Jamulus, Jamulus, and it's a free software that allows Ed and I to talk without Wi-Fi lag. And unfortunately, when we have our guests on, we haven't quite figured out how to get them on it. So we do have lag when our guests join. But for the Ed and I can play music. We can talk without interrupting each other because, you know, the lag doesn't get in the way of that. And it's fantastic. We couldn't do this without it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And there are other options that exist, but Jamulus is the one that seems to work the best so far. I think a lot of them are starting to improve though as the pandemic wears on, because a lot of musicians are like, well, geez, I want to play and I want to rehearse with people, but we can't be in the same room. So I think people are starting to kind of work with this stuff more, and so it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I think you'll see more and more stuff come out. I mean, like I mentioned earlier with Peter and Deborah, is you know, even as we kind of normalize again, I think a lot of this online stuff that we've become accustomed to is here to stay.
I agree.
And is going to improve. So just keep an eye and an ear out, because you're gonna hear stuff, and we'll continuously improve and you know, roll with it as that happens for this podcast as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that said, shall we close out with the song?
Yeah, let's do that.
I put frequency on there because so once again we have launched our Patreon page. So for just the big selling point, I guess, for us is just for $5 a month. If you go to patreon.com/crimesagainstfolk, for just $5 a month, you can join our weekly pre-show concert. So it'll be about 20-30 minutes every Sunday at around 12:30 p.m. Pacific. And Ed and I will come on and play, you know, some songs before we start the podcast, because we did take performing music mostly out of our podcast, even though we do end with the song every week. But this is a way to get the music back into your lives from us, if you like us.
Yeah.
And also support us as well in our efforts. So there's a $1 option if you want to join the chat and just support a little bit. And again, this is a monthly rolling fee. There's higher tiers too, and you get something out of each tier. If you want to support us with a little bit more, you're going to get stuff for that. So check out the Patreon page. Please join our community. And we have just started it this week, and we're really excited to watch that grow. So thank you to Alice Williams again for being our first Patreon. Patron. Anyway, we did this song for Alice earlier. I thought it sounded kind of cool, and we haven't done it in a while. It's an original. I wrote this one, and it went on our very first Witherword EP. It's called Frequency. 1, 2, 3, 4. You said it was love at first sight. I had stars caught in my eyes, lost in your beautiful bright lights. You played my song on your guitar, straight to the beat of my fragile heart. I saw your angels dance with your demons. I'm all out of rhythm and rhyme. I don't want to waste any more time. Let me go. Let me be. Don't let me lose my voice inside your frequency. I'm too young. You're too loud to hear yourself breaking me down. I'm not ready to get over you. You said all the things I wanted to hear, swallowed my dreams and fed all my fears, calling me beautiful, but I never felt beautiful. I'm hanging on to all that you say, but when all the words go away, will you let me go? Let me be. Don't let me lose my voice inside your frequency. I'm too young. You're too loud
promises that didn't go through, the accusations that just didn't do. You'll always remember as true, but I know I was good to you when you didn't deserve me to. Let me go. Let me be.
Let me
Don't let me lose my voice inside your
Don't let me lose my
I'm
voice
too
inside your
young.
frequency.
You're too proud to hear yourself breaking me down.
But I think I'm ready to.
I think I'm over you. Nice.
Yeah. That was on my brand new guitar, you guys.
Yay. Guitar. Woohoo.
Witherword playing two electrics together for the first time
What'll
on
happen next?
Crimes Against Folk, creating double crimes.
Thank you all for joining us today. Extra special thanks to our guests, Peter Cutler and Debbie Hand-Cutler,
Yes.
for joining us. We'll have info again on how to find them in the show notes. Make sure you tune in next week for our guest Aunt Mama as we continue our Far West month. Please remember to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. These podcasts come out in their audio form on Tuesday, and the live streaming that we do happens Sundays at 1 p.m. Pacific on Facebook, BandLab, and YouTube.
Thank you all for watching live. Thanks to Glenn, Danuta, Alice, Yvonne, Peter, Itzo, and everybody else who's here. Aunt Mama. Yeah, and if I miss you, I love you too.
So for our, we're going to do the post show right now on Patreon. So if you are a patron, look for that link in your patron feed or look for that notification. But otherwise, we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.